Yeah, so my name is Samuel Njuguna. I always start off by introducing myself. I come from a village in a place called Gatondo, just in case kuna mtu wa Gatondo hapa. Yeah, see? Awesome, yeah. So right before graduation, I started my first company. My first company was called Chura like a frog. I don't know how many of you have heard of it. The basic principle of Chura was, and it's something I'd seen with campus, was most people are having more than one SIM card. So you'd have one person having an Airtel SIM card. Hiyo ndio anatumia kutuma my SMS. Another one is they also have an Orange line. Back then it was Orange, Telcom was Orange. They're using that for good data. And then you'd have a Safaricom line because of M-Pesa. And the question was, if on average someone has more than one SIM card, then why don't you create a resource or a channel or a single point of access where someone can access all these resources from that single point? So out of the service, what we did was, one, we allowed people to exchange airtime for cash. So if you had a lot of airtime, in your office, you're given a lot of Safaricom airtime, you'd come to the platform, exchange it for cash. If you had a lot of Telcom airtime, Orange then, you could switch it to any other form of airtime, whether it's Airtel, Safaricom. And then we also allowed people to buy airtime cross network. If you had M-Pesa, you'd buy Orange airtime. And then the last service we did was called bulk airtime, whereby you would send airtime to many people at once in different networks. And I always say this was actually my school in how to run a startup. One of the things that we had seen while you're doing those credit scoring, you do a lot of analysis. And we had seen a lot of people are not saving and investing. And during our free time, our 20% time, the question was, why is this the case? Is this something we can explore? And we had also been we have been very passionate about what we call behavioral psychology and behavioral economics. So we realized a lot of people are not saving and investing in all the markets we are in. So the question was, why is this the case? And from our research, 3 things stood out. One, most people are unbanked, yet most investment choices or channels are designed for people who are banked, right? The second thing was that on average, the minimum ticket size required by most fund managers in Africa averages $100 US. $100 US, that's around 12K for you to go and save and invest. What that means is you have to save money kando somewhere, you collect it, it gets to 12K, and then for you to go ahead and give them for investment. So what that means is that a lot of people are left out of the bracket or the channels where they can save and invest. The third thing that we saw was a lot of people saw the value of saving and investing, but there was a gap between intention and action, which is a habit gap. So the way we solved that was, one, now we came up with Chumz. What is street lingo? What does Chumz mean in street lingo? Money. Funny thing, nimetry kuuliza hiyo swali majenzi. Waliniambia Chumz ni kiss. So very interesting. Ukisikia mzee anajua Chumz ni do, unaweza jua hichi yake. So naitumianga ka trick. Yeah, so now, so we came up with Chumz. So with Chumz, basically now we allow people to open an account in 2 minutes. Basically, you can open an account and start saving. On the issue of the minimum ticket size, we allow people to save as low as 5 shillings. Actually, you can save even as low as 1 shilling, meaning it's all inclusive. So the way we went about that was, one, to look at, then how can we encourage people to save? So number one, there are things like making people be aware that whatever situation they are in, they need to save and invest. So one of the things we do when you have the Chumz app, on Fridays at 8:20 p.m. saa zile tunajua uko kwa nyumba ama uko sherehe, we usually send a message called Weekend Save that says, hey Sam, weekends have heavy spending, save today. It's a very simple message, but that time we send it, we know wase wengi wako wapi? Kwa sherehe. So they normally wanna get ako kagil tripping. And interesting enough, our highest deposits are on Fridays. The other bits that we do is that If someone sends you money, for example, if you receive M-Pesa, and someone sends you like 1,030 shillings, the app automatically asks you, would you like to save the 30 shillings that's on top and round down your balance to 1,000? And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. But when you come to behavioral psychology, there's something they call cognitive load. And this is something marketers have always known. So one of the way marketers reduce cognitive load, wanajuanga when you're trying to buy something, people don't decide in abstract. It's easier for you to decide what to buy when you have something to compare with, right? So that's why you see in adverts, wanakupatia, there's actually something they call a decoy effect. They give you, wanakuambia large ni hii, medium ni hii, maybe the smallest is this amount. The reason why they do that is that in that way, you're able to tell which one to choose because you have things to compare, and that reduces your cognitive load. Cognitive load means basically your processing power in your mind. Yeah, so that's it. So we went to CMA in 2022, presented what we were doing. They thought it was interesting. Traditionally, what has happened with fund managers, again, they design most of their systems for people who are banked. So they have been, they go after corporate funds, big funds. Us, the whole idea was to go after the retail client. And now we developed the app. We are lucky enough it resonated with people. Since then, 2022, now we are clocking 2 years. We have over 200,000 users, and we have enabled people to hit goals and saved over 4 billion. Yes. So that has been the journey. Right now, as we speak, we are looking to set up, we are finalizing our integrations in Rwanda. And then also underway in Uganda, we have a waiting list of around 1,000 customers. And then also doing that in Tanzania, Botswana. Yeah, so that has been the journey. What I had listed, again, one of the things Maureen was very clear about is that most people who are here are people who are also looking to build ideas. I had listed a number of things maybe I can share around building ideas that I've written down. So in terms of risk, I mentioned the platform risk. In terms of marketing, what marketing have we realized? So marketing, so when we started Chumz, one of the key things we had focused on was to have what we call foot soldiers. So watu wanaenda wanaongelesha watu, wanawaambia what Chumz is, wanaambia they are going to earn interest. But one of the things that really shocked us was whenever we would mention the term interest, tunaulizwa mbona unatucharge interest? Mimi niko like no, hii ni interest yako. No, unatulipisha interest. No, hii ni interest yako. But then we came to realize our market, people are so used to lending apps that whenever they see the term interest, they associate with you're paying back to a company. And then one of the gaps we have realized that there is space in financial literacy. And what can we do around that space? So what we did was we pivoted to other forms of marketing. So for example, we did PR in the newspaper. Again, newspaper targets certain type of people. Maybe in terms of financial literacy, they are a notch higher. One of the things that happened by accident, I know you have seen influencers, us working with influencers. And one of the things we have learned, again, with marketing, one of the things we have learned is if we are going to engage, for example, influencers, let it be very authentic. In the sense that they're already using the solution. It's not a hard sell, it comes off very easy. So going back to that. So one, if a product has a bit of a learning curve, you might need to focus first on people who can educate people about the brand or the product. If the product has a bit of consideration on trust, you need to work with brands that can give you, a brand transfer. So one way we did that was, so number one, we started by saying, hey, we are covered by Capital Markets Authority. Watu wakatuuliza, Capital Markets Authority ni nani? But then, by seeing the brand associated by people who they know and they trust, the conversation becomes easier, and then you use those people as avenue to explain what the product is all about. For foot soldiers, one of the things we learned was, as you'd expect, for any product that requires you need a bit of attention to understand how it works. For foot soldiers, watu wako up and about. So attention, you get very short attention spans, which means you need to look for people who are a bit patient, and also the conversion might not be very, very high. The other bit I also wanted to mention is on building teams. What have I learned about building teams? In my experience, one of the things from Chura all the way to Weza and now Chumz is that with startups, things evolve very fast. And the people you need at the very early on, I always call them people who are T-shaped. T-shaped in the sense that just the same way a letter T looks like, you have the stem on the, is that the stem or the trunk? The trunk, I don't know, ako part. So they are very deep in one area of expertise, but at the same time, at the top, they are very broad in terms of interest, curiosity, and ikifika ni mahali they need to acquire a new skill, they can pick that very, very fast. And then the last quote I would like to leave you with is that when you're building something and you are in doubt, do something, right? So ile wakati una build a product, a service, and you're not really sure where it's headed, where it's going, just try and do something. You can try and talk to a customer. You can try and extend a service, see what else you can add to it. The last thing you want to do is stay in what we call stay in situ, or stay in the same place. Just do some movement, try something. The whole idea is to learn as you do that, and then through that you can build. And then last but not least, around Chumz. So recently, one of the things we have done is we have created saving games. So for example, we have one called Mia Kwa Mia, where you can save 100 for 100 bob for 100 days. We have another one called Super Funds, kwa wasi wanapenda futa. You can decide, I'll be saving every time Arsenal wins. So unakuja kwa app, unasema mimi ni fan wa Arsenal. Arsenal ikiwin, nitakuwa nikisave thou. Na pia kama unachukia Man U, unasema Man U akilose, naekelea thou tatu. So if you go to new goal, you will see that. Other challenges we have there, for example, is envelope, which generates a magic number every week and tells you to save X amount. Yeah, so I think that's it. Hope Maureen have done it justice. I'm open to any questions.
Having worked in both the B2B and B2C space, we've seen a lot of startups having to pivot from working with the B2C clients to working with B2B clients. Is there a way that some of us who are thinking of building solutions can determine whether the B2C or the B2B market is best, and what are those factors that we could consider?
To answer your question, it all depends on which market you are in, where you have customers who are getting the most value with you. But at the same time, maybe over time you'll see what are your strengths. Do you need to bring on board someone who does fundraising for you to continue enhancing B2B? B2B, by the way, in this market, investors love B2B a lot because it allows, they always say you don't have very big marketing cost. B2C, on the other hand, gives you that freedom to grow even when fundraising is not forthcoming. Yeah. So each has its pros and cons. It all depends on your strengths and where you see you're creating most value.
Wow. I think he deserves a better round of applause. Thank you so much for being here. And the session is over, so you're free to leave.